welcome to the FPLUSA Press Play Podcast. Shout out to Brian and our special guest for joining me. I'm Bux. We are 2/3 of the host of the official audio home of the hashtag FPLUSA community. I want to send some love and a shout out to Dan, our Missing in Action co-host, better known as at FPL_Blackwolf. Without further ado, Brian, how the hell are you?
Ahoy! It's international break. We have been missing each other on the pod, but I've been spending a few days in Las Vegas for March Madness, which is big here in the States. I survived 3 days. It's the last hurrah with a few of my boys who also play FPL, but before the baby comes. So it was nice to stay up late, get up to some hijinks, throw a few shekels around the tables, but I was pretty hot on the sports betting, so that's a good sign. I need to carry that over to FA Cup this upcoming weekend and make sure to get some more dollars in the pocket to buy diapers soon. But it was a good time, and I have paid zero attention. So I was reading the rundown for this episode today, and I saw that there's a bunch of injuries and some notes and notables, so can't wait to get into that. But before we do, let's introduce a two-time appearee on our podcast at FPL Fella, aka the most beautiful Dan who's ever been on this pod. How are you doing, mate? Welcome.
Yeah, no, I'm really well, thank you. It's been a while since I was on. I can't actually remember. I think was it last season or the season before? But yeah, it's always fun to come on your pod and as we spoke about before, I love your Americanisms and your affection for our great UK sport. I know you've got some favourites over there, but it's brilliant that you guys are pushing the flag over there for the Premier League and obviously FPL.
Somebody's got to, so why not us?
Exactly.
Yeah, Dan, I know you are an OG to us. You were actually one of, kind of our first guests abroad to humble our little operation here. But for the listeners who might not know who you are, why don't you give a little bit of background on what you're all about, who you support. I know I'm looking at your beautiful kit right now. Just tell the listeners a little bit about your FPL journey.
Yeah, so real name is Dan. Handle on Twitter is FPL Fella, and that's essentially because that was my nickname growing up from school. I used to call people Fella, and it kind of stuck.
Love
that people used to just call me. So that's me. I actually worked out that next season is going to be my 20th year playing FPL. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
I'm quite a veteran. I think my first season was the 06-07 season, or maybe even the season before that. And it's been a bit of a, not a roller coaster is quite a funny word to use, as you know, I like a roller coaster, but it's been up and down mainly because of my personal life, really. I used to actually play football on Saturday afternoons, which used to be a full day thing. You'd go and socialise with your teammates and drink and stuff, but that would mean pretty much missing every single deadline every week. And that was before before the days of content creation as well. So you wouldn't even know when prices are going up or down, or you wouldn't know when the blanks or doubles were coming. It would just hit you.
Not to mention, you're almost predating smartphones, right? So you'd have to be on the PC maybe to do it. You might not even been able to do it from your little BlackBerry or pre-iPhone. So that's quite impressive history there, going back in time. And you look pretty good for 20 years of playing FPL. Like the hair and the face, not too many wrinkles, not too many grays. So that's impressive.
Nice. I'm 30. I was 39 in February, so yeah, I'll be 40 next year.
There you go.
But yeah, it's fun and it's just gone crazy in the last 5 years. It was a small hobby with 6 or 7 friends back in the 06-07 season, and now kind of my first ever mini league has grown to over 100, basically from people going to university to work, inviting friends in, and that's how I kind of gauge how big FPL has got, based on that small mini league that has gone from kind of 6 to kind of 130 people. It's just gone mad. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Fella, I got to give you props because I kind of fell in love with the Premier League only a couple years before you started playing FPL. And then you mentioned that the game really launched in a big way 5 years ago. This is my 5th season, similar to what you just described with your own personal experience in your mini league. Brian kind of wrestled me into this whole FPL thing, knowing that I was such a big Chelsea fan that I was watching every weekend. And it's nice to see the growth of the game be so organic because it really isn't necessarily about like your favorite content creator. It's just as the soccer, as we call it over here, as football kind of grows in popularity, it is such a made for TV sport, the way that it's broadcast. And I think it's contagious. Once you really can watch 1 or 2 games, realize that it's not just a 0-0 snooze fest like we might be led to believe here in the States. It's hard to not fall in love. It really is. It's a brilliant experience all around on the weekends.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because I feel like I am probably the complete opposite to you guys, where I've grown up watching football from the age of kind of 4 years old. Dad taking me as a season ticket holder when I was a child. Then when I got into being an adult, he stopped paying for my season ticket, so I stopped going. And then now I kind of afford to go again. I'm a season ticket holder with my mum, and we go to games together every couple of weeks. I've been a season ticket holder since we moved to the new stadium. But in me saying I'm the opposite, I mean, I've really tried to get into NFL kind of the last 3 or 4 seasons, and actually playing NFL fantasy has got me more into NFL because I now understand what the positions are. I understand who the teams are. I can recognize a lot more of the players because obviously there's 50 players a team or however many there is, and it gets you kind of more into it when it's a sport. I mean, I guess over there you'd watch the Man United's versus Arsenal's, the Liverpool versus Chelsea games, but you might not watch the Southampton versus Ipswich games. But because you play fantasy sports, you're more inclined to watch them because you've got interest kind of in the games. And you're lucky enough that you can actually watch all the games over there, whereas we can't, which is a strange and a whole different conversation to have.
Yeah, it's a cruel quirk that we can watch all the football, whether it's soccer or the footy variety. And yet you guys are the birthplace of the sport and have like the massive blackout. Before we go any further, Dan, I do want to ask, you have a favorite NFL team? We know you're a big stan for the West Ham Iron. So who's your NFL team if you had to pick one?
So I think it was back in 2018. My wife works for an American insurance company, and she knows people. She knows lawyers in Miami through her work. So when she went on a business trip there, I went with her, and we got treated to tickets for the Dolphins versus Jets game. And
nice. It
was kind of just fell in love with the whole experience, and I'd been to see Miami. So yeah, they're Miami and my team. Funny enough,
Fins up.
my favorite player has also got the same surname as me, so you can try and guess. And we went again in September for the season opener against
very cool
the Jags. I think it was the Jags. Yeah, but yeah, fun times.
I was going to give you compliments because, it's good to have a favorite team, but also you marry that with, I know Brian is the travel aficionado of our humble podcast, and there are a lot worse places you could choose to, schedule return trips back to than Miami, Florida. So I think you and your wife doing double God's work there on the fandom front, getting to take a vacation to
Yeah,
Miami every now
of
and
course.
again.
Get
That's
some
good
vitamin
for the
D,
health.
some of that
Yeah.
sunshine on South Beach.
Exactly. And hopefully they're coming to Madrid, or they are coming to Madrid this
Oh,
year.
very cool.
So,
I saw
and
that.
my wife's team is the Bengals, and it's
Ooh.
hugely rumored that it's going to be Miami Bengals in Madrid. So we will be on the ticket websites, like
Oh, very
frantically
cool.
trying to get tickets for that, and at the Bernabeu as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like that's just a dream. But yeah,
That's a
that's
bucket
me.
list moment.
That's me.
And listen, just tell us a little bit. I know you're involved on socials. Again, you mentioned your handle, FPL Fella. I know, and I want to give you some credit here because I'm involved with this initiative. You're one of the co-founders of the @FPL Meets campaign. Why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about that and kind of what that's all about?
Yeah, so essentially, we obviously had lockdown. There were FPL kind of meetups happening kind of already pre-COVID, but then I think Twitter or X now blew up during COVID because none of us could go out, none of us could meet people to talk about football and FPL. Everyone was doing it on Twitter, and then when we came out of COVID, the people that we'd kind of met over the internet, we said, look, let's meet up and have a few beers in a pub. And then the reason for the account and the reason why it all went a bit official was we did get a little bit of backlash because it was like, where was my invite? Where was my invite? Can I come? And all that kind of stuff. So myself and FPL Nima, who you probably know, we just went, look, let's have a separate Twitter account that we can retweet. We can say the venue. We can say when it's happening. We can ask people, instead of it just being me or just being Nima, we can have this account. And then it kind of blew up. It was just London, so I just mainly deal with the London ones. But then it blew up because people are saying like, oh, we want one in Manchester, we want one in Edinburgh, we want one in Glasgow. And then obviously, I call him Black Wolf, but yeah, Dan organised one in San Fran and was lucky enough to actually have the winner there for one of the meets, which was like amazing. We've got some in India and Pakistan and yeah, like all over. And there's
So cool.
we don't manage and we don't get involved in that. It's like whatever you need kind of us to do, retweets essentially to kind of push the message out. I try and get bigger accounts to retweet to push it out kind of even more. And it's just a everyone welcome kind of thing. The London one usually has 30 to 40 people there at each
Sweet.
one, and then we hold one on the last day of the season, which usually has over 100 people. So the pub that we go to really, I think, like our business that we give to them.
I was gonna say you get a lot of free drinks based on the back of that feeder system that you got organized. I love that.
Yeah.
FPL brings the people together, so we love to see that. And yeah, I've met Black Wolf a few times in person in the Bay Area, and Jamie Pickett, who's one of our FPL USA legends. He won. I think 2 years ago. It was great to see him with a group of our supporters, and we got our group chats and stuff going. So it's good to see just the overall community continue to come together, whether it's in the virtual hallways or podcasts and content creation or just in real life over a few adult beverages. So we love to see that.
Yeah.
Right,
I was lucky enough. I'm lucky enough to see Dan in San Fran. So that's great.
Oh, lovely. All right, should we recap how our game weeks went in the rearview mirror from blank game week 29? It feels like ages ago. I haven't opened the app for a number of weeks. So, and was a little bit rougher for you, right, Bucks?
Yeah, I bet you guys can't wait to recap how blank game week 29 went. Me, on the other hand, this is like entering back into personal FPL hell, because this was one of those game weeks where just nothing went right. I'm having a dreadful season, but blank game week 29, I took it right on the kisser. 36 points all out. I took a hit to get in Holland. I captained him. Then the Cole Palmer news comes out of nowhere. He stayed in my team. So all in all, I ended up playing with 10 players. I had no Bruno Fernandes. I had the wrong Nottingham Forest defender. Yeah, it sucked. It sucked. My season, it's gonna just come off the rails. I think that's my official prediction here, because at 800K, I'm probably not going to keep my streak of top 100K finishes alive, and I could just be realistic about that. And so it's going to be more about fun and pizzazz and probably a lot of Bucks Wild differential moves down the stretch here. So I still have my wild card, which is a great way to transition to you, Dan, because I know you played your wild card. I think that was probably a power move based on the score you got, the squad that you set up. So tell the listeners how blank game week 29 went for you.
Not to mention, I mean, the majority of the FPL Twitterverse is looking at wildcard 30-31. So you're ahead of that curve and cashed in big with some extra points, right?
Yeah, it was a strange one. I think it's a very weird thing that I did, because usually when I wildcard, I know pretty much after the deadline I'm going to activate it, and then I'll have the full week or the full 2 weeks, however long, to kind of plan it, grab price changes, price rises to increase team value and all that kind of stuff. But it was actually on the Thursday. I decided that I was going to do it on the Thursday night, but didn't activate it until the Friday. So like literally the day before. And I think it was looking like I was going to have to take an 8-point hit. I was tempted with the free hit, but then I think I looked at game week 34 and the teams that could blank. And I kind of thought, if I wild card now in 29, I've then got enough transfers by 34. Once we know who's going to definitely blank, because that's the important thing. We will know who definitely blanks before game week 30 starts. Before game week 30
31
starts, or 31, we'll definitely know who will blank. We won't know when the doubles are. So I was thinking, I can set my wild card up to have enough players that will be playing in blank, so I wouldn't have to free hit then. And I can use my free hit in the double game week whenever that will be. So that was the reason for the wild card. And there were just so many players that I wanted for last week. I was tempted to do the free hit because I thought it's a strong week to do it and get quite a few points. But I like free hitting and a double rather than a blank. So that was the reason for it. But the points I got, I had obviously Milenkovic, which was really good. Fernandes.
And you had Bruno. Bruno doing the God's work for you.
I mean, it started perfectly with, I think the City game was the first game, wasn't it? And I think I had Marmoush and Haaland, and I think they assisted each other. And I was like, wow, this could be a really good game week. And then I think, who did they play? Ipswich? Brighton. And then they conceded, and I was like, oh, shit. Gvardiol's only going to get 1 point, but a lot of people have brought him in this week anyway, so that's okay. But yeah, other than, Bruno, Marmoush, Haaland, and Milenkovic, but everyone else didn't do that great. The Bournemouth assets were a big disappointment.
Well, listen, you have 4 guys on good quality returns, 3 of them with double digits. Let's just say that's well better than I had in my team. Holland with 7 points, captain to 14. That was pretty clear my best asset in blank game week 29. So you buried the lead a little bit, Dan. Just tell the listeners, what was your overall score? And again, do a casual amount of gloating. I know that's hard for you Brits. But what's your current rank?
We're humble. So I started the game week at 35k. I got 71 points, so that took me up to 17.5k. But
half your rank. That's huge.
I was 14K in game week 26. So it's kind of two red arrows, two red arrows to then get a green to bring me back up. But yeah, it's okay when you're speaking to someone who's sitting at 2K in the world.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go overboard when we know who's coming up next. Brian, tell the listeners. I know right now you're dancing around in your little pot of gold as you go for the number 1 overall FPL rank in a couple game weeks time. How did blank game week 29 fare for you, pod partner?
Yeah, dare to dream. I think triple digits is now like potentially on the table for me to achieve. We'll see. I'm ranked 2.4K. I had a very cheeky green arrow. I ended up on 67 points, and I used 4 free transfers this week. So rather than wild card or free hit, I had 4 free transfers. I've been very much like patient, especially with like my ass man chip. So that's how I was preparing for 29. Like I had slot for all those weeks. I did not go to Glasner or anybody else, but 67 points with no hits. Even before the game week started, I was on a 7% green arrow because people around my rank tier were taking hits to navigate blank game week 29. So very much one of those curses of having 4 free transfers is there's so many different variables that you can try and work into your equation. And the biggest miss is I had Alanga and talked about him on the pod previously, and I ended up with Cho instead. And that's a difference of 13 points, which would have been pushing me closer to top 1K, honestly. So that was the big miss. But Marmoush and Holland cap, Bruno Fernandes in for Cole Palmer. As a Chelsea supporter, I had seen enough, and just the team's not functioning. They're not creating goals. I was just like, I have the free transfers. This could be an edge. And obviously that played out in a huge way. So now going into game week 30, I'm tripled up on City, and I have Gvardiol as well, even though he did not clean versus Brighton. I'm really hoping that trio can just do the business and continue to propel me up the ranks, whereas those who free hit might not have Holland. They can only get to Marmoush. So I think it's a good spot to be in, and you know, I'm getting freaking lucky this season, so I'm hoping it continues. I got wild card, free hit, bench boost, triple cap left, so top 1K with those 4 chips and some decent planning and luck. It could be one of the best ever finishes for me. So I would say, Bucks, after last year where I finished 420K, which was by far my worst ever finish, you can definitely turn it around and take some learning. So you know, that's the beauty of FPL. There's always next season, right? You can hopefully go for your PR. And that's enough gloating from me.
Yeah, we won't believe it until the season recap in a couple months' time. With that, let's talk about the manager of the game week. Now, we are running a free-to-enter podcast mini league. There will be a cup that is starting in that soon. And again, the overall winner is set to win a free kit of your choosing from this past season's Premier League teams. So pretty good prize. We have sent that out to sent it to Leicester. We sent one out to, I believe it was Edinburgh. I mean, I'm paying a lot of shipping for these things, and it's good. It's a humbling experience because, again, I'm nowhere close to the winner's circle. But you, Brian, you're right in the top 3. But this was a brilliant game week to free hit. I know you just shouted that out, Dan. So thank you. You're a true pros pro here. The top 4 scorers in blank game week 29 in our free to enter mini league all were on free hit, and it was topped by Oleg Grachev's squad. Wow, wow, wow. That's what I was saying when I went through this guy's team sheet with 97 points. Bruno captain, 34 points. That's basically my entire team score in one player, so that stinks. Bellegarde and Delo each end up on 11, and he also benched Milenkovic. So this could have been a truly triple-digit kind of free hit. Either way, bravissimo, that is how you do it. And that was a great game week for wow, wow, wow. So congrats. With that, I think let's take our first break. We're all warmed up now, lubed up if the other Dan was involved. And let's take our first break. When we come back, we will fast forward to talk about game week 30.
And we are back. Let's fast forward and look ahead to game week 30 and really share some notes and notables from the happenings around world football. There's been a few injuries and a few flags crop up, but thankfully we will see a lot of these players in action on the weekend for the FA Cup, which is another kind of blockbuster moment in the FPL season that I'd love to discuss with you guys and really try and figure out what's the best thing for those with chips left. So, Bucks, why don't you run us through a few of the notes that you have here?
Yeah, just let's start in international break. I know I am taking this international break and shooting some hoops, not really checking the FPL site. It's been a nice exhale as, we also get very ready for what's to come in May. So what's happening right now is a lot of injuries, a lot of flags, a lot of bad news for FPL managers who, might not have a stockpile of free transfers in their coffer. So Cole Palmer, no updates as of yet on his status. He was, he was ruled out very late in blank game week 29 with a muscle injury. Chris Wood, he limps off injured from New Zealand international duty. Watkins, Trent, Mateta, Jedi Robinson, all those lads are all flagged and they're all owned by, very heavy amounts of engaged managers. And then a late one that I saw yesterday, Mikolenko, who you probably won't want to start for Everton with their brutal crucible of fixtures that are coming up. I think they have the worst 5-game fixture run I've ever seen as an FPL player. Yeah, he's also flagged now. So just kind of waiting to see who will be the next domino, who will be the next injury news to come, which is an unfortunate way to play the FPL game.
Oh my God, Bucks, that Crucible you mentioned, I think Fel and I just looked at it online. Everton play Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest City, Chelsea in a 5-game stretch.
It's crazy.
It can't get worse than that.
Oh my goodness.
It's going from the frying pan into the Dutch oven into the air fryer. It could not be worse. I don't think the schedule makers could have, printed out a more cruel stretch to the season.
Those toffees are going to be fucking melted after that stretch. I mean, that's Devontae's 7th ring of hell right there. That stretch.
And we should just mention that game week 30. We're still about a week away. We're recording this on Wednesday, March 26th. So the pod will be up sometime on Thursday. The game week deadline is on Tuesday of next week because, as my co-host mentioned, the FA Cup, I believe it's the 5th round draw. Those matches will be occurring on the weekend. So, blockbuster cup match, and they have major ramifications. Yeah. Major ramifications for what the FPL calendar looks like in the stretch run. So we just want to make everyone aware of that. If at all possible, be patient with your transfers. We know how intoxicating this podcast is. You might want to just listen to the, ASMR tones of our voices and then just go to the transfer page and rip your whole team up. But, maybe practice some patience if possible.
Yeah, and I think...
Yeah, so I think I'm curious on Dan's take on, looking at these fixtures for FA Cup especially. Can you pick some winners here? What are you thinking of the 4 matches? Obviously, the only favorite, really heavily favored, is Villa versus Preston. So I'm kind of curious, how you see these other ones playing out. And from my perspective, I am hoping and praying that Crystal Palace once again defeats Fulham, because I would love to have them have back-to-back double game weeks in 32 and then in 33 with a wild card in hand. And those are popular assets that could come into the side. So let's kind of go through some of our predictions here ahead of the weekend's action.
I think firstly, what I would say for your American listeners is that don't underestimate the FA Cup. We take it kind of very seriously in the UK. And
the magic of the FA Cup.
And especially when it gets to the quarterfinals, people can smell the semi-final and the final. The semi-finals are played at Wembley, so it's a chance for teams to get to Wembley at the semi-final stage. Sure. But on the fixtures, I mean, you would heavily favour Villa versus Preston. They're obviously not a Premier League team, so Villa would be looking, and Villa haven't won a trophy for years, so they'd be definitely looking at it. Man City, obviously they're not going to win the Premier League this year or the Champions League, so they'd be Pep definitely won't want a trophyless season at Manchester City. So I'd probably favour City, but then the other two are for me unknowns. I think anything could happen in the Fulham, Palace, and Brighton NFO fixture. But yeah, that's how I see it.
And Dan, is the FA Cup a Mickey Mouse Cup? I know you said it's not to sleep on it. I just want to clarify for our listeners.
No. It's prestigious. It is very the Carabao Cup, the one that we've just had. That's kind of seen as the kind of Mickey Mouse Cup. Although I think what we're seeing now in the UK is a lot of teams take it more seriously because they want that silverware. There's a lot of clubs here that haven't won anything for quite some years. But yeah, definitely this FA Cup.
It was pretty cool to see Newcastle take down, not only winning the semi versus Arsenal in emphatic fashion, and then just really outplaying Liverpool in that final. And as Liverpool's dream run goes through in the Premier League, seeing them being eliminated in a few cups and not playing their best has been a little bit satisfying if you don't support that club. Everyone's trying to walk alone to the podium with their trophy, but alas, no luck there.
It's been tough in my household because my wife's a big Liverpool fan.
Oh wow!
So it was a tough few days, and as soon as the game finished on Sunday, she was like, turn it off. I can't watch this." So yeah.
Dan, just for context, do you mind if we just re-record that for any Arsenal listeners, and you could just say trash the FA Cup as not being a big trophy? Because I know the Arsenal supporters really like bigging up that they've won that trophy more times than any other club. So again, just as a Chelsea supporter, I want to make sure we level the playing field here.
Well, I can put a slight spin on that, but that it's called the Emirates FA Cup. And who are Arsenal sponsors? They are, of course,
conspiracy
Emirates.
Theory. I like it.
So yeah, I'll just put that nugget of information out there.
Yeah. Do you also have the asterisk next to the Messi and Argentina World Cup in Qatar?
No chance.
You don't have to answer that. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
All right. So bringing it back to the FA Cup, just personally for me, for possible wildcard 31 and bench boost 33, I'm hoping that Crystal Palace wins away at the Craven Cottage and beats Fulham. Villa go ahead and win in easy fashion. City, I would also like them to win, just knowing that anybody who's not on wild card, it might be a little bit more difficult to triple up in a double game week 33. And then the key one here is really Brighton beating NFO at the Amex, because based on the schedule, we have the game week 34 fixture for Forest is on a Monday. And so they can't actually schedule a midweek game for them to double in 33 because of that fixture. So that's something where you could see that fixture, rather than move into 33, it could stay in 34, and there'll be less double game week player pools to choose from in double game week 33. So those are the things that I've looked at briefly that I'm hoping for in terms of bench boost. But the chaos will come, and the magic of the FA Cup may see a unlikely winner raise the trophy. So looking forward to it and having the footy back on the weekend.
Yeah, I still think City pretty comfortable favorites. Dan, let's just talk through your kind of ideal chip strategy. You already used the wild card, so maybe you're a couple game weeks earlier than consensus with that second wild card. What's the plan? If everything falls, perfectly for your squad, when are you using the rest of your chips?
I think.
Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, what have I got left? Bench boost and free hit. So, as I said earlier, it would be free hit in a double game week. I think if there's more fixtures in game week 34, that helps me out more because I'll have more players that I can transfer in for game week 34, but then whichever's the bigger double game week, I'd probably bench boost, and in the smaller double game week, I'd probably free hit because there might be players from that week that I don't want to kind of carry forward, but I'd want a full
Carry on,
11
yeah.
of kind of double game week players in that. So that's kind of my chip strategy. It's kind of like I'm up there at 16k, but I expect, because I've only got 2 chips left, for people to kind of catch me up.
Hey, Dan, out of curiosity, how many free transfers did you carry heading out of the wild card? 0.
0.
3?
Yeah. 0.
All right,
0.
so you got 1.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you been enjoying that change that FPL Towers made to the game by rolling up to 5 free transfers and having them in and outside of the free hit and wild card? Like, I think those permutations I'm in love with. I wish they would have just stuck with those and not added the ass man chip, which added just so much variability and such a ball ache, honestly, to figure out when to play it and whatnot. But yeah, just curious on your, because obviously you've seen many iterations of the game. You've seen the game before there were even chips. So I'm very curious on, these overall changes in your take on the strategy.
I mean, we've just been talking strategy for the last 5-10 minutes, and that's exactly the kind of FPL manager I am. I look 6 weeks in the future as to when, especially at the start of the season, when there's going to be no blanks and doubles. I'll look for the pockets of fixtures, and I was hoping that I was going to collect 3, 4, 5 transfers this week. I think the most I've had at one point was 3 to use, and I think it's powerful for the more engaged managers that can look at those pockets of fixtures. And I think you'll see next year, if they keep it, that people will get used to it. And the more engaged managers will be able to definitely take advantage of the learning experience that we've had from this season.
Great shout. I agree. All right, with that, I think let's leave the strategy talk in the dust for now. Let's look ahead because, again, this is all about planning, and the focus really we want to have is on game week 30, the here and the now. Of course, after that FA Cup results drop. So it's actually a pretty compelling fixture list when you look through it. Now, we want to start with the best matches to target for FPL hauls. That's one of our go-to segments. And I think the most obvious one is it's in 72 font in bold. It's underlined. Maybe the, potential winner is italicized even for emphasis. And that's Leicester. The woeful Foxes are traveling to Manchester City for their cup of penance. And I know you both have Marmoush and Holland double up leading the line. I have Holland. Pretty clear that we all think City are going to just run riot in this match, yes?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I watched Leicester, West Ham, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I think it's probably one of the worst games of football I've seen. It was terrible. I think we went 2-0 up and I think all 22 players just gave up and went home. Well, the Leicester players didn't go home happy, but we did. And since then, I think it's target Leicester, essentially. I think the 3 teams that are in the relegation zone now, and we'll probably talk about others, will go down. I think Leicester are probably, or maybe even worse than actually Southampton. I think the reason why Southampton get thumped because they actually give it a go. I just think their squad probably isn't as good as Leicester's, but Leicester they just kind of give up.
Yeah, they're just they're in such a weird spot. They bring in the new manager. He hasn't been able to change anything around. They've scored 4 total goals in the Premier League this calendar year. I mean, we're going on
Incredible.
It's middle of March, right? End of March right now. And so the clean sheet looks great. And, half of those goals that they scored were in a crazy 2-1 win for Leicester versus Tottenham. So they're not scoring goals. They're not creating chances. Jamie Vardy's not having enough Red Bull at halftime to come out and get a goal. And so, I expect this one to be 4-0 is what I'm hoping for as a Triple City owner.
Yeah, I think 3-0 easy. And the Foxes, they're rooterless. Bringing in the Premier League legend Van Nistelrooy hasn't helped whatsoever. I agree with you, Dan. I actually think they're a worse watch than Southampton right now. But we won't have to watch them for much longer. They will be back down to the Championship soon enough. Sticking on teams in the relegation zone, next up, Ipswich at Bournemouth. Now, the Cherries, they're definitely having their best season ever in the Premier League as a club, but kind of the good vibes are starting to wear off a little bit. I know a lot of managers piled on to have a triple up, even a double up in attack, and all of a sudden it seems like, mid-table team is starting to return back to mid-table form. So they're home. I think they'll be the clear favorites. I have this as a 2-1 win to the hosts. You guys see it differently? You think this Ipswich could pull a shocker? What are we thinking?
No, I think I'd agree with that. They're definitely the best of the three, or best of a bad bunch. And yeah, I got the Bournemouth triple up on my wild card for this fixture, and then they go, and then West Ham. They come to the London Stadium in 31.
Yep.
And we're not having the greatest season, and I think we're kind of we call it on the beach. I think we're not gonna go down, and we're not gonna probably qualify for Europe. So West Ham are probably a bit of a target at the moment. So that's why I've gone for the Bournemouth triple up in my team.
And what trio do you have of Bournemouth assets? Do you have Semenyo, Kluivert, and Kirkes?
The good ones. The good ones.
Kirk,
not any that have the sniff of Bucks on them. That's for sure.
Yeah, Kirkes, Semenyo, and Kluivert. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Not Hoyson and Dango.
I have to agree with you, though, just thinking about, man, these relegation-bound teams are so freaking bad. And it sucks that there's no challenge at the top and there's no challenge at the bottom. So it's really like, do you want to bet on who's making European football in those places? Because the rest of the table is like, it's pretty listless. So bummer there, but hey, we still got FPL points to accrue, so we don't mind these thrashings from time to time. And Crystal Palace at Southampton. Is Mateta and his chopped off Mike Tyson earlobe going to be making an appearance? Is he going to be fully fit? I guess we'll find out soon in the FA Cup if his minutes and what he looks like, but hopefully his equilibrium is all right and he's able to continue his form, because he's been smashing it as of late for Palace, actually probably the whole calendar year, last 10 game weeks or so.
Yeah, I think if Wood is guaranteed to be out in game week 30, then I think the obvious move is going to be Wood to Mateta. I mean, we base it on the news that we get this weekend, which is kind of an advantage to us. But yeah, I know Bucks looked like he had something to say there.
Yeah, I actually think this could be a trap game, because a lot of the best players for Palace, Palace are not the biggest club, but they have some top quality players. And a lot of those players are away on international duty. Eze, Gehi, I know I saw LaCroix is with the national team. I don't know how to pronounce any names. Munoz. And again, Mateta's might be coming back from injury, so maybe they don't risk him and he gets, say 30 minutes of run out in the FA Cup. I think this could be, a motivated Southampton team. I saw they just smacked £100 million purchase price tag on Dibbling. And, they might want to show out in front of their home crowd for one of the last times they will in the Premier League for the rest of the season. So I actually think this could sneaky be 2-1 to the home team. I know I'm probably going to stand alone in that take, but I think this is the perfect trap game for Crystal Palace, because especially for us FPL managers, all eyes will be on their double that's coming up in 32. And, it happens in the NFL all the time. You're prepping for your big rivalry game in week 11, but you play, one of the teams lower down in the standings in week 10. And all of a sudden the fourth quarter rolls around and, it's 13-9 and your kicker has missed 2 field goals. So I think this is that kind of game.
Even Eddie Nketiah can score goals against Southampton. I could see him bracing even if he started over the likes of Mateta in this game.
I don't know.
Week.
I think this game has Eze hits the post, Sarr hits the crossbar, Ramsdale, it falls on the ball a couple times, and it's just a frustrating day out.
No chance.
At the Saints for Palace.
No chance. I mean, I could see the letdown maybe after they go all out in the FA Cup. So maybe, like we said, Mateta's minutes are limited. But like I said, like this team is so poor at Southampton. They'll put a shift in, but they got mistakes all over their back line.
Yeah, that's true.
Back passes to the keeper going right into Eddie Nketiah's foot for a goal. Like it's just going to be that type of match. But I wouldn't expect a blowout. Maybe a 2-0 for Crystal Palace is my prediction there. And as a Munoz owner, Munoz has just been the cheat code that we need. And man, with TAA likely leaving the Premier League, he might be the best attacking defensive asset heading into next season. To be honest, like that's a pretty crazy statement to have here, but that's kind of where we're at based on the state of the FPL game.
Dan, would you have scored against this Southampton team? Let's just leave it there.
Well, I was a left back when I was playing, but I'd probably still score.
All right, there we go. That's,
I used to take corners, so maybe I'd score one straight from a corner.
Yeah, you'd have an Olympico. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the best matches in real life, and I've highlighted 3 derbies. And I really like that we have Dan here because he could smack talk our Dan stateside in the Dan Derby. West Ham traveling up to play Wolves. 2 teams start with W's, both towards the bottom half of the table, not to take any shots. Dan, I gotta back my guy in California. I think this is gonna be a rough day out for your Hammers. 2-1 to the hosts.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's I think it's more important for Wolves that they pick up points here than us. I think 17 points from Ipswich, between Ipswich and us. I don't think they're going to get that.
Yeah, you're safe. Totally safe.
That's the points they've got all season. But 9 between Ipswich and Wolves, that's a lot closer. And you never know. So I think Wolves will be targeting this for 3 points, needing to kind of confirm their safety. And yeah, it could be tough for us. We've had a lot of players on international duty. Sufal and Souček with the Czech Republic. Kudus has been with Ghana.
With Ghana, yeah.
Paqueta is having his court case at the moment. Bowen's been with England. Bowen got at least 90 minutes for England. So the only thing is that both teams are out of the FA Cup, so they should be kind of fully rested after the international break.
And no Cunha. There is no Cunha on the other side of that pitch. Cunha. So you know, I feel like this is like a 1-1. Both teams kind of play a middling version of themselves, but I like a draw here. But I would love to see more social media content of the winner smack talking the other on FaceTime.
Yeah, agreed.
I think, I'll do that. I
think last year when Dan had a fantastic season, he brought in Bowen, got the hat trick, and you were FaceTiming him from the stadium, and that was an epic moment for our FPL podcast community.
Yeah, because I think his stream was 30 seconds behind as well. So when I FaceTimed him, he hadn't seen the goal yet, and as the goal went in, we got to celebrate it together. But yeah, no, that was a great moment.
Legendary. All right, next up, Merseyside Derby. We got Everton at Liverpool. I also think this is a hometown feasting. I know, there's a lot of talk about selling Salah with Liverpool not doubling any further. I expect they're going to be rested. and motivated to kick some toffee bum. So I think this is 3-0 to the home team. We will not see a repeat of the final match at Goodison Park. I can mark my words on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I'd
curious
agree.
to see. Yeah, I mean, Beto has had his little patch of form, and he's been missing a few chances lately. So I don't see any reason this shouldn't be a 2-0 victory. But Everton they're respectable. Moyes has come in. You know, Bucks and I were talking a lot of shit earlier about him being the crypt keeper and the rise of the zombie manager, but he's done a good job at Everton.
That's Roy Hodgson, Brian. Roy Hodgson is the
Yeah,
crypt
he's
keeper.
he's
Moyes
also
is
there. They're both
he's the flame
getting
out.
up there.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of crazy that some of these managers, we can't get any new blood in that kind of has staying power. You keep recycling some of these managers who have been just around for ages and ages, but sometimes that's what it takes to keep your team up.
Just wait for crypt keeper Cresswell. He'll be managing League Two team soon enough. Ain't that the truth, Dan?
Yeah, probably. It'd be interesting to see what Cresswell does when he retires. I mean, Mark Noble is in our works for West Ham.
Development team, right?
Yeah, development director of football. Yeah, lots of hats. They were never going to fully get rid of him. But yeah, he does a lot with the academy and stuff like that, which is good to see.
Nice. All right, Bucks. Let's go to the last derby.
Yeah, I've gone almost an hour without just gushing all over my Chelsea Blues. Excuse the wife for having to listen to that phrase come out of my mouth.
What a word.
Let's go Spurs at Chelsea. This is the 3-point lane derby. I think Chelsea have enough. Wrap Cole Palmer in the most protected Moncler puffer coat that's on the market right now and get him to Stamford Bridge for this game. I think it's going to be 3-2 to the home team. I think this one, I'll be watching it regardless, but I think this has become a really box office fixture, especially since Tuchel and Conte were on the sidelines. And I expect Ange and Enzo, they're going to keep the trend going. Maybe there won't be a handshake at the end. Who knows? You guys see it the same? See it different?
I'll go for a draw, 2-2. I'm just not impressed with what I've seen from Chelsea over the last 2 months. So for them to not have Nico Jackson still, their wingers don't score goals.
He's back
the
training.
Only goal threat we have is freaking Cuckoo these last couple of game weeks versus the worst teams in the league. Cole Palmer's MIA. Sancho, we're trying to refund and get our money back. I mean, it's a sorry state of affairs for a team that could still make Champions League. So, I think looking back on the season, Bucks, I would have loved to see them progress more evenly throughout this Premier League season, because I think we got ahead of our skis a bit where they just started out so hot.
Humbug. Just get the points.
I'm just saying, for a young team, we were all starting to dream earlier that, hey, maybe they could make Champions League and make a push here. And then obviously the form the last couple months has just been so abysmal, only beating two of these shitty relegated sides. But regardless, here we are. We're in the race for Champions League spot, and they need Nico back in a big way to open up more space for Palmer, and we're just not getting goals from Neto and Cuckoo and Sancho, etc. So yeah, and then it's Spurs. What the fuck do? They don't play any defense. So 2-2. I like it. See some goals.
Yeah, one extra nugget about this game is if you think that Chelsea are going to finish with that coefficient in a top 5 Champions League spot, this is almost a must win. They have a really tough final couple game weeks. They play Forest in 38. I know they play Newcastle down the stretch, and they still have to play Liverpool, I believe. So because they drop points in that ugly match against Arsenal, this match becomes really pivotal. You need probably somewhere between 14 and 16 points to make sure that they do finish around that 4-5 range and qualify. And if they lose this game, it becomes really dire straits. I think they might fall out of Europe entirely from an automatic qualification perspective. So as a Chelsea fan, this is a really big one. Of course, you always want to beat Spurs, but with the importance of Champions League and the current squad and the project, huge 3 points on the weekend, on the midweek. So on Thursday, boss, I might be, missing in action after that lunch break. Sorry about that.
Pour yourself a pint and watch the footy. That's the dream on a weekday. All right, let's wrap it up and get out of here. Let's go through our transfer plans and captaincy shouts. Let's start with the guest, Mr. Fella. What is your plan? You said you have one free transfer heading into game week 30, coming fresh off your successful wild card. What is the plan of attack?
I think it's essentially going to be the news that we get this weekend. It will be a last-minute transfer, if anything. I'd love to say I could roll, but then do I attack the game week with bringing in Mateta for Wood? I think that would probably be the only transfer I would look at the moment is Wood to Mateta. But I'd like to kind of roll and then have two for 31 when everyone's going to be wildcarding and I'll be playing catch up. Yeah, that's
Dan, are you going to start your Forest defenders? I know they play against Manchester United. You going to start them or bench them?
Well, that's the other thing as well. I've got Gavardiol, so it's not looking good for him. So I think if Gavardiol is injured, then I'll have to start Milenkovic. I don't tend to like doing transfers for defenders a lot. So yeah, I'll just play Milenkovic, and Milenkovic can return against Man United. They're not great defensively. So
yeah, what's the go with Gavardiol? It's niggle or
hamstring, I think. Hamstring,
muscle injury.
Hamstring, yeah. So it could.
Yeah, luckily we'll know if he plays in the FA Cup and have pressers ahead of that. So I do really rate your move if necessary. If Wood is truly going to be out and getting Mateta, because you're going to own him in 32 no matter what. I would say, he's just going to be such a hot commodity. So if you're bringing that transfer up, it makes sense to move if Wood is indeed injured. Who would be your first bench if Wood were not to show up, just out of curiosity?
Dan Burn.
So, Dan Burn. That's all.
Or Gibbs White.
Not as much upside, but.
Or Gibbs White, I guess. Yeah. Or Gibbs White. So, yeah, it's not terrible.
I don't know. Maybe you should skip the Mateta move because, they're going against the brick wall of the Southampton Saints as predicted here, which none of my predictions other than Alanga for Brian's team and for Blackwell's team are going right. So you heard it here first. Crystal Palace are going to score 5 goals. Mateta full-on hat trick in the first half before he gets an early sub on the spot. And easy. Dan, who's going to be your captain?
It's 50-50 at the moment between Salah and Haaland. I think it's when they've both got great fixtures, you've got to go for the penalty taker. It'd be sexy to go for Marmoush, but it's got to be a penalty taker. And then the higher owned Salah versus the lower owned Haaland. I think I'll probably go Haaland. If I had to pick
I was going to call you out for. I was going to call you out for fence sitting, but you listen to the podcast, so we make you make a take. So I appreciate you, Dan. There's no Black Wolf 2.0 here right now. Chin, I know no one cares about my plan, so let's skip to you. What are you feeling? I know you have 0 free transfers banked, so you only have 1 free transfer. A lot of chips. How are we feeling going into game week 30?
Yeah, I blew my load in the game week 29, so I need to
maybe Black Wolf is here.
Need to restore the transfers, but look, I think I'm hoping Gavardiol plays. If not, I'm looking at Mikolenko or Greaves. So that's not great, but I have Hudson-Odoi first bench. Whatever. I need to roll this week. I'm not going to make a transfer, even if I have to play one of those shitty defenders. I need to have multiple transfers in my pocket for navigating 32 into 33 because I'll be bench boosting and likely want to potentially move off of some assets in the 32 double and transfer them to 33 doubler. So yeah, all is well. I gained a lot of points in the field last week. If I lose a few this week, that's fine. But I've had 7 red arrows the entire season. So I'm hoping just to keep getting lucky and just get a small green. Anything counts, right? I think I had a 66th place green arrow earlier in the season, so I would gladly take that whenever you're rolling a transfer. And then captain is definitely going to be on Holland. Lesser owned. People are afraid of going against Salah. I don't mind it at all. And Everton have been fine. I think Everton could keep Liverpool to 2 goals, but time will tell.
So when are you planning to wildcard?
Yeah, are you still on wildcard 31?
Yeah, I'm very linear with my current transfer plan. It's boring, but it's just depending on how things shake out. But most likely, wildcard 31, Isak triple captain 32, bench boost 33, free hit 34, use transfers to navigate 35 through 38, and hopefully finish in the top 1,000. That would be just an absolute dream.
All right. I know everyone's asking for my moves, so let's give the listeners what they want. I got 1 free transfer. I got like 2 million in the bank. I'm thinking of going Wood to Mateta. I know we mentioned that's kind of the obvious pick. And I think depending on if Cole Palmer is fit, I might even take a hit to move Dango to kind of any warm body. So SARS, the obvious one. Just get a double up. I have 0 Palace stock right now in my squad, so that would be an easy way to go from kind of 0 to hero and get 2 of those guys in
against the powerhouse Saints. That's you're going against the heavens Bucks that you've been calling out.
I know. Well, my wife likes to call me a cheeky devil from time to time, so I'm not in good with the upstairs lads anyway, so let's just go there. I think that's probably my move. Take a hit, make it a little spicy. I will also be Captain Holland. Actually interested that you have it so close, because I think kind of the consensus, if you have Holland, you go against this Leicester team. I mean, Everton at least have a pulse. And the Foxes, we counted them out. We buried them. We spit roasted them a couple game weeks ago. So,
I mean, it's the shield move. Because I think
that's fair. You guys have good ranks to protect, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be my reasoning for Salah.
I think this has been a good pod. I mean, listen, it's the middle of the day, so I don't have my full looniness of not eating till 10 p.m. here. So sorry about that, Dan, that you didn't get to experience that. But any final words? Tell the listeners where they can find you. Tell us about where we're going to meet up with you for either the Club World Cup or the World Cup. However you want to freestyle your close out here.
Yeah, so I'm Dan, FPL Fellow on Twitter, or you should also follow at FPL. What are you doing? FPL Meets on Twitter as well. That's where we kind of organise meetups.
The distraction
in London, but also there are many organised around the world. So yeah, get in touch if you want to organise one. Or go ahead, organise one. It's always great fun, and I hope to be invited on again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 2-time guest, favorite Dan in our hearts by a long shot. It's not even close. Now, I'm Bux for the at FPL USA Press Play podcast. You can find us under the handle FPL Press Play. I know that is FPL USA Press Play.
Come on, get it right, Bux.
Wow, the rust has really got me in deep. Now, I'm FPL USA Bucks. That's FPL USA Brian. This has been another really fun FPL content focused podcast. Hope you enjoy the rest of your international break, the Minnie Mouse fixtures of the FA Cup on the weekend. And remember, it is a midweek. We will be getting back into full FPL mode on Tuesday. So thank you, fella. Thank you, Chin. Thank you to our listeners.
Thanks, no worries.
Green arrows all around.
Yes, please.